Welcome to Something More to Podcast, where we move through topics wherever the conversation takes us. I'm your host, Adam Culbertson.
And I'm Richard Collins. So today, in the spirit of March Madness, I'd like to bring up a news story that I saw. The state of North Carolina is working on passing some legislation to guarantee student athletes certain rights. Things like health care, for example, certain protections that they haven't been afforded currently in the collegiate system. Now, that could cause some problems with the NCAA, with the way that their rules currently work. It doesn't really mesh with that idea. Under normal rules, if nothing changes, it's likely that North Carolina schools wouldn't be able to participate in any kind of NCAA sanctioned play.
Really?
But that being said, I think, especially in terms of basketball, UNC and Duke are both so prevalent and such huge schools and moneymakers. I feel like this is really going to prompt the NCAA to try and look at this again, try and revise their rules, because I really don't think that they want to or can really afford to lose that kind of a pull. And even more so, if this goes through in North Carolina, you'll see other schools, other states, trying to push these same things out because they don't want to be behind. You know, for anybody that's not into basketball, it would be akin to in college football, Alabama and Clemson both suddenly changing their rules and the NCAA being like, nope, you can't play anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just, no, that's not really going to fly. I don't think that the NCAA would just sit back and let that happen. I'm sure that they would probably take a step back, look at this, and possibly change some of their rulings about compensation for players, because it is frankly unfair.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they make billions of dollars. I don't know how much
it's a huge industry, ridiculously huge industry.
They make billions of dollars on. I mean, I guess the students they get scholarships to play for the teams, or some of them do. I don't know if all of them do. I don't really know that much about college sports, but they're making billions off of these kids.
Amount.
Well, I mean, they're adults, But
I mean, it's not even just that they're making so much money, but it's all just profits that are going into people's pockets.
Yeah.
I would almost be more okay with it if it was money that was going to the schools.
Yeah, or going to the schools, creating more scholarships, so more people that pass the test that can get into the college can afford to go there because of this money.
Right.
That's being earned.
And some of the money does go to the schools.
Yeah.
But there's a good chunk of that money that still goes into people's pockets. There are definitely people that are benefiting off of the labors of people that they legally cannot pay.
Yeah.
Which sounds a whole lot like legal slavery.
Yeah, it does.
So it's a tough thing. I applaud North Carolina for trying to move forward on this. And hopefully that'll bring about some change in the next year or two. That would be very nice.
It'd be interesting to see.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to get them health care and what else?
Well, it's I know that healthcare was part of it. So for one, it would make it illegal for an institution to make any money whatsoever off of an athlete's name, image, or likeness without the athlete's consent.
Okay.
It would formalize health and safety procedures. So it would also give them a lot of support concerning legal advice, providing an attorney for them to discuss any potential problems with NCAA violations, things like that. Of course, trying to give them some amount of health care and additional academic support. Because in a lot of these cases, academics really is a far second to them playing the sport in the first place.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this goes through. Hopefully it catches on and the NCAA doesn't I don't see them stopping it. They make too much money off of them.
I don't see them stopping it either. It's one of those things where it's been a long time coming. It's been a problem for a long time.
Oh yeah.
I don't entirely agree with the position that student athletes should be paid, because that opens up a whole can of worms where, well, what if you have, a student athlete trying to decide what school to go to, and you have school A that doesn't really have a lot of funding, but you have school B that has just millions and millions and millions of dollars in funding and are going to be able to offer them a much larger contract. Like, I think the only way that you could implement student athlete pay would be to standardize it across the country. Yeah. But that also is kind of a little prickly.
Yeah. 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 I don't think the students being paid is a great way to go with that. Mm-hmm. I think just giving them health care and stuff like that and making it standard across, like, everywhere, like the coverage for the state. Because, I mean, every state is different with health care and coverage and everything like that.
Right. And it's just, I think when it comes down to it, I'm not opposed to them getting paid. It's just, it's going to be difficult to implement correctly.
Maybe open up endorsement, like allow them to take endorsements or something like that.
Well, I mean, that much I feel like should be absolutely the case. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be allowed to take endorsements for their own accomplishments. Yeah.
Yeah, like that. Just allow them to go that path. Like, I don't understand why that can't happen. But
maybe regulate it so that they can't actually, endorse whatever while they're playing. Like, it can't be part of like the actual collegiate function. Yeah. But there shouldn't be any reason why they couldn't appear in commercials and then reap money from that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what they put them on the video games. They
stopped get paid that because of legal issues.
Oh, really?
But no, they did not get paid for that. And that was part of the whole thing, was they didn't even have to consent to the use of their likeness. And that's what caused a whole lot of legal issues. And then EA just kind of dropped it altogether. Because it just wasn't worth trying to fight that battle.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully it gets better.
Hopefully so. I mean, it's one of those things that's been a problem for a long time, and I think this is definitely a first step in the right direction.
Yeah, at least something is actually being done. Mm-hmm. Like, it's actually getting started, and it's not just a bunch of talk.
And like I said, it's good that it's North Carolina. I don't think it would have gone over, or it will go over as well as it would have. Like, anywhere else, it would not have gone over as well as I think this will.
Okay.
Just because, for the most part, I don't think any other state is quite as dominant in any one sport in collegiate.
Something that I actually wanted to talk about it last week, but we ended up getting very deep into politics last week and didn't really move on from that. But especially since last night was our first D&D session in a month.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we had to take a break for different things, but like schools and teachers picking up D&D as a teaching tool and a learning tool for students to learn how to improvise, how to do storytelling, how to write, everything. And one school in particular that I really wanted to talk about, or brought it up to me, because I'd been seeing people talk about it in different subreddits for tabletop gaming.
Right.
But Lake Washington Girls Middle School, they have a day that's for D&D, and it's on Friday, and I like, they have a class that plays D&D, and like everybody from the school is involved in it and all over the place, and like they enjoy going to school. Like, those are the days that they just love going to school. They're still learning other stuff during the day. It's not just a full day of D&D, right. But kids are staying late to play more D&D. Like, they're staying hours late after school to play. Yeah. And it's bringing kids that are normally really shy and reserved. And like, there's some of the most outgoing players. It's I don't know. I think it's a really good idea.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of benefit to it, really. And I mean, for one, even if it's not necessarily academic, anything you can do to make people interested in school is going to be beneficial in the long run.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's hard to learn anything when you're just sitting there thinking about how much you hate school.
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, I think that it is really good for allowing people like this opportunity to be able to kind of open up, like, you know, develop socially. Like for a lot of people, it's just kind of this anxiety of presenting yourself and how to present yourself. And I think D&D actually opens up a lot to being able to just kind of play around, like just kind of put together personalities, thoughts, feelings, and everything, and not necessarily have to have it reflect on you personally.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're playing a character.
Exactly.
In an imaginary world.
Mm-hmm.
Along with other people playing characters. Like you all, like it brings like people that normally, I definitely think just in a school setting, because you have your different cliques and groups that hang out with each other. Well, put in a situation like that, it'll get people to actually learn like how other people are.
Yeah.
That like everybody is creative in some way, and it'll get people that are normally in different cliques talking to other people and making friends outside of that group.
Right. And it gets you thinking from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not all about your clique and your people. Well, what's it like from, you know, somebody else's point of view? What's it like to see this from a different side?
Yeah. Yeah, because nobody wants to play themselves in D&D.
Right.
I mean, I've never met anybody that wants to play themselves.
I mean, it's easy to kind of start out that way just to have some kind of basis, but it usually doesn't take more than a couple of characters for people starting to branch out and do something that's just radically different from something they would normally do.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I think another fair point in all of this is if you think about even like counseling, for example, it's a common tool for counseling to do role play.
Yeah.
Like to be able to kind of work through thoughts and feelings and things like that is just simply to try and take on the position of someone else. And so, I mean, I think that there's a lot of benefit to, you know, every once in a while, just getting out, getting another perspective and taking a different look at the way the world is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And shit, like my favorite part about our D&D sessions is not the stuff that I've kind of written ahead of time or like if I pull stuff straight from the book. Like when I have the most fun is whenever like I'm like, okay, what do you guys want to do? And then and you decide, and then I just make it up as we go. Oh yeah. Like, I mean, I try to keep it as seamless as possible, but I mean, it's just fun that way to me. Like I get to improvise as much as you guys do.
Oh yeah, and it kind of helps keep things a lot more in the flow of like whatever's going on and the way that people are feeling or you know what they're trying to do at any given moment.
Yeah. I try to adapt to what you guys choose.
There's definitely a lot to be said for it, and you know, having some experience as a DM, it's almost impossible to lay out like a full plan.
Oh yeah, I've learned that now. Like my plans that I make, they go completely out the window as soon as we sit down at the table.
So it's a lot better if you just kind of maybe make some loose guidelines, maybe think out a couple of specifics here and there, but largely you're just kind of trying to create an overarching kind of story and not really a script, so to speak.
Yeah. Like last night we got like a gladiator, like wrestling type cage match event that's coming up. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that I started with was one NPC, and there was going to be a wrestling cage match event. And then just that turned into 3 hours of almost, well, this was more like 2 hours of just the build up for that.
Oh yeah. It's definitely going to be a lot of fun. I'm definitely looking forward to that in game.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if you haven't played D&D, I definitely recommend it.
And you know, there are enough role-playing games out there that even if the idea of high fantasy doesn't really appeal to you, there's all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of sci-fi out there. There's a lot of superhero type systems out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are even some systems that are more just like modern military.
Yeah. Yeah. You got stuff like supernatural kind of systems.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what it's.
Like witchcraft, or you've got like vampire.
Yeah, you got vampires, witchcraft kind of stuff. I think there's a werewolf thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's one that is just like monster of the week.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, where you just have like you're gonna have like the Bigfoot or a chupacabra or something,
Mm-hmm.
like something's gonna be Frankenstein, who knows. But
yeah, there's definitely a lot of communities out there. Like if you haven't tried one out, like find a genre that really appeals to you and try and go out, find a group. I know a lot of people that play online. You can go to places like Roll20. Like their forums would have a lot of people just playing various different games, looking for players.
There's always games up for beginners only.
Mm-hmm.
Always looking for players. There's DMs, and there's players looking for DMs too. So I mean, don't just stick to a player. If you want to control the story, if you're that person, definitely like give DMing a shot. Though
a word of warning, DMing usually takes a good bit of planning and preparation.
It does.
Even if you're not like planning every little detail, it still takes a lot of mental preparation to kind of know where you want to go and where you want to guide the story.
Yeah. Like just on when we do play like on a week to week basis, like I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to change this. I'm going to change this. I'm going to change this. And then the 3 days like leading up to the session, I'm like, okay, well, I want to scrap this completely. And every day I'm like scrapping it and writing something new.
Right.
And then whenever we sit down at the table, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to use parts of these different things that I came up with. And it's just, I don't know.
Absolutely. It's like building a toolbox.
Yeah.
Like putting together a whole toolbox of things to pull from and use.
Yeah. Oh, man. And I don't like sticking to magic items that are straight from the book or I don't know. I like making magic items or combining magic items to make it their own.
Right.
Stuff like that.
And I mean, if you think about it, it's kind of ridiculous in a wide world of magic that everybody would adhere to just these very strict definitions of what items can be.
Yeah.
Definitely highly recommend that if you have even a small interest in anything, find a format, find a group. There's plenty of resources online. And for some of these systems, you don't even have to buy a book. Like some of these systems are completely open, and you can find all the information you need online.
Yeah. Yeah. Just Google the shit out of it, and you'll. There's so many different recommendations on Reddit. Like we could probably, I could pull up a list and just go off on it. But I mean, the information's out there, and it's really easy to get.
It really is.
It's been like D&D and just tabletop gaming in general has just been growing in popularity recently, and it's awesome.
Oh yeah, it is. It really is.
Like it's like people were like shunned for playing D&D like back when we were kids and stuff like
well, and there are even some groups that still are really wary about it, like some of the more old-fashioned groups. But I mean, really, there's nothing inherently bad or evil or demonic or whatever have you about any of it. It's just people getting together to tell its story together, basically.
Yeah.
It's cooperative storytelling.
Yep. That's what it is. And like so many good fiction books have come from tabletop gaming, like in all genres.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like people take the stories that they come up as a group and turn it into a novel series, like Dragonlance and Forgotten Realms.
Various Forgotten Realms.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, like all the video games that we have, like World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy, all that stuff, like a lot of like the spells and the creatures that are in it all come from original D&D.
Oh, absolutely. I would dare say that most of those actually spawned out of somebody playing D&D.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I sometimes enjoy the tabletop gaming more than I do a video game, just because you have more control over the universe that it's in. Well, especially as a DM, but even the players, like you have control over what your character can do. It's not just click and point and click and
absolutely
and hit
it's
your number buttons and stuff. Like,
it's an entire world full of option, and really the only limit is your luck and your imagination.
Yeah. We're plugging the hell out of D&D right now.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I like plugging things that I enjoy.
I know, me too. So you saw I haven't seen the new Captain Marvel movie yet, but you have.
Yes, I have. And, I hear mixed reviews about it. Like, I've talked to some people who thought it wasn't very good, like some people who thought it was good. Like myself, I actually thought it was really good. I think it's actually one of the most solid origin movies they've done. Like, if you were to just take the first movie for the characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, this one might be the best one of them.
Really?
As far as like the overall look at all of it, I would say it probably runs about mid upper like range for the Marvel movies as a whole, which is really still awesome because the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole, they haven't done a bad movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they've done movies that aren't as good as some of the others, but they haven't done a bad one yet.
Yeah. Like, Ant-Man doesn't really stand out to me. Like, I've watched it. I liked Ant-Man, but it didn't really just stand out to me.
I definitely think with most of them, like, when they come back around to it, it's better than the first.
Okay. And that's another one I haven't watched is Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah. Like, I would definitely recommend, like, watching it. I think it was definitely better than the first one. And it's definitely part of the build up towards the second Avengers, or I guess fourth Avengers movie, Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
So I would definitely recommend watching it before you go to watch Endgame.
Okay. And Ant-Man and the Wasp, that's on Netflix now, ain't it?
I believe it is on Netflix currently, yes.
So the only one, I haven't seen that, and I haven't seen Captain Marvel. I've seen everything else.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, and so in the scheme of things, I thought it was really good. I thought it was really good the way they did it. I thought they actually did a good job with the whole 90s nostalgia humor thing.
Yeah. Like,
they had some pretty good bits in there that didn't really feel like too hokey or out of place.
Okay.
Like, it actually felt pretty natural.
Nice.
And all in all, I don't think that they strayed too far away from the comic book origins. Obviously, things aren't going to be all the same. But when it was all said and done, like, it felt very genuinely like that character.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I'm probably going to be till Netflix gets it. Or, well, shit, you got the Disney's making their own streaming services.
Yeah, supposedly that's supposed to be coming out at the end of the year, I think, sometime.
Yeah, so it'll probably be... It probably won't be on Netflix before that comes out. I would think. I don't know. They do come out pretty quick, I guess.
Usually it's like a few months, I think, before Netflix gets it.
Okay.
So it's possible it may hit Netflix before they pull everything, which I'm imagining they will do.
Yeah. Yeah.
That being said, now Netflix I don't think is really going to have too much trouble. I know it sounds like a lot, like, oh, Disney's going to pull out all of their stuff. And I think NBC already started pulling some of their stuff because they're trying to start their streaming service and everything. Yeah. I'm not really too worried for Netflix's sake, though, because really their original programming is just spectacular.
Oh, yeah. They're cranking shit out, too.
Oh, yeah. There's a ton of it. I mean, it's like every week they're putting out new stuff.
Yeah.
And entire seasons at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I've been looking at some podcasts and people like focus on Netflix original stuff, and they can't keep up with how much stuff that they're putting out.
Absolutely not. I mean, if you were
impossible.
To watch everything, I mean, that would be all you did. That would be your job.
But yeah, everything I've watched on Netflix, I've enjoyed. That's a Netflix original. I mostly watch comedies. Mm-hmm. I definitely enjoy the Adam Sandler movies. They're a little bit different than his old stuff, which is old stuff. Like, still watching it today, I still laugh at it, but I'm like
his old
that
stuff
was stupid.
old stuff, I would say most people would agree is just classic.
Yeah, it's just classic.
Like, and some people like put a lot of hate towards him, like in some of his later movies, like prior to Netflix.
I like how he got serious. I personally enjoyed that. I didn't like Jack and Jill though. That was a stupid movie.
But you had movies like Spanglish.
Yeah,
that was a more serious movie that was actually really good. Mm-hmm. Like I thought Click was a really good movie.
Oh,
like
yeah.
a good mixture of comedy with like a serious message.
That was a sad movie.
It was. But it's like all in all, I think he gets a lot of undeserved hate. Like I do like everything I've seen from him on Netflix.
Yeah. Funny People. Mm-hmm. Oh man, like that movie just hit me. I was like, it's such a good movie. And where it was funny, like it was still like you just, wow.
But it still kind of so had sad. It still had that serious and sad note to it though, which is not really what you'd expect out of a movie called Funny People with a bunch of comedians.
Yeah. Oh man.
But like another one, Mike Myers also gets a really bad rap. Like I don't really get all the hate that people have for him. Like, cause you see so many people, especially like Love Guru, got a lot of hate.
Really?
Yeah.
And I did see that in theaters. I enjoyed it.
I really like that movie. Like I thought it was great. But apparently some people's complaint is that it's just too lowbrow. Like it's just really lazy, like fart humor, that kind of stuff. But it's like, even when he did use like fart humor in it, I thought it was used in a very clever way.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And that's just how he's always done. Like, look at all the Austin Power movies. Look at him on Saturday Night Live, like Wayne's World and all the other countless sketches that he did on there.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I feel like he evolved over time, and he evolved in a good way. But I don't understand the hate.
Mm-hmm. I think what it is people get so caught up in nostalgia and what things were. Yeah. That in a lot of cases, just anything new, they're automatically going to look at in a negative light.
Yeah, I was actually I was listening to the interview yesterday with Joe Rogan and Pauly Shore, and how like he was doing really good, but he just made a lot of bad choices.
Right.
Or he made bad choice, not in drugs or anything like that. He just made bad choices on which movies that he chose to play in, because he wanted to just constantly play in as many things as he could, just because he enjoyed acting.
And Pauly Shore was in some bad movies.
Yeah, towards the end there. But see, like In the Army Now, that was apparently one of his bad movies. That was one of my favorite movies that he was in. So I don't know. Yeah. I liked Pauly Shore. I liked the Weasel, growing up. Buddy. The Weasel, whatever he says.
Yeah.
The inflection there. I probably got it wrong. But no, he's apparently still got a good life. Like, he didn't make a lot of bad choices that ruined his life. He just doesn't have a movie career anymore.
Right. Although, like, with the current climate of things, like, I really think he could make a resurgence if he wanted to. Because, like, right now would be the perfect time, because it's so big on, like, that 90s nostalgia kick right now, that I'm pretty sure if he wanted it, he could absolutely get a show just about anywhere.
Yeah. I haven't watched the Sandy Wexler movie that Adam Sandler did, but apparently he's in that movie.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was also talking about how he loved being the star in acting and everything. So him being just a side character, and he's best friends with Adam and everything like that. But just that feel of being on set just wasn't the same because he wasn't the star. He still enjoyed it, but he wants that back, but he's I think he didn't listen to his managers.
I think, in all honesty, now is the time. I think he could really go out there and get it if he wants it.
Yeah, it'd be cool. I'd like to see Pauly Shore make a comeback.
Mm-hmm. And actually, kind of going back to like Netflix a bit. The other thing that I'm kind of concerned with on that streaming service topic, there are so many companies and channels that are so concerned with trying to make their own streaming service now, trying to make their own Netflix. And I think that as a whole is actually going to hurt streaming.
Yeah.
Because the entire point, like the entire reason people started going over to streaming rather than traditional cable service is because it's just too expensive to do cable.
Yeah.
And what these channels are trying to do is they're just all trying to take like a slice back and everything. And it's just going to end up in the exact same way.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll have some ability to kind of pick and choose, but when it's all said and done, they're going to separate everything out so much that it's like to watch everything you wanted to watch, you're going to be spending at least as much as you did on cable in the first place.
Yeah.
And people aren't going to like be down with that. And you're going to see entire channels just dropped because people are like, well, I don't feel like it's worth the, $10, $15 a month you're saying to charge me.
Yeah. Hey, I already did it. I gave up on Star Trek.
And that's
they did their thing.
Exactly. And that's the problem that I don't think that they're seeing is that if people are only watching your channel for one show, they're not terribly likely to get your streaming service just to watch that one show.
And then it encourages people where I stopped pirating. I stopped going to the streaming sites and everything that were constantly getting shut down. Then you have to find a new one, and then it takes forever. You got so many ads that you have to block, and it doesn't block everything. And it just causes a lot of problems, and it's a lot of hassle I got tired of dealing with.
Yeah.
So that's why I went to Netflix. I went to Hulu and just stuck to the shows that I could get on there, or even Amazon Prime.
Right.
And I mean, it's never stopped. Like the pirating has never stopped, and it's gonna continue on forever. But more people are gonna take that path when this starts happening again. When you start taking shows off of Netflix, when you start taking shows off of Hulu, and put a paywall behind it, maybe try and work out a deal with Netflix, try and work out a deal with Hulu, and get your service on there. Maybe at a really a $1.99 fee on Netflix or something for NBC or something. But it still sucks for us because we'd have to pay it, and it adds up and adds up and adds up.
See, one thing I don't understand why a lot of these channels didn't go to a long time ago is why didn't they just move their existing model of cable television to a strictly online format?
Yeah.
They didn't really get the fees for you paying your cable bill. That pretty much went to the cable company.
Yeah.
They made their money from ads.
Yep.
Selling ads. And if you're so confident that people would pay you money to watch your stuff, why would you not just put all of your stuff online for free with ads?
Yeah.
Just have it just the same as you have your channel stream on TV, with actual ad breaks and everything else, and just stream it online.
Yeah.
Make episodes available with required ads. I don't really see how this is necessarily a bad model.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you would probably have more people watching because it's free than putting it behind a paywall.
Yeah. And just put the ads there. I mean, you got ad blocker. People are going to block the ads. But even whenever I don't have ad blocker on, or I don't typically have ad blocker on my phone, and I just skip the videos on YouTube and all that kind of stuff. Not once have I ever clicked on an ad to buy something whenever I've been watching a YouTube video. I don't know how many people do, but I've never done it.
But see, the thing is, if they were to put the ads on there themselves, do all of this on their own site, they would have control over all of that information. They would be able to see, information about the people that are watching certain shows, certain demographics that are more into this show or that show, to be able to sell certain ads during certain times.
Yeah, based on region and location and everything.
Here's the information on how many people clicked on this ad during this show, that kind of thing.
Yeah. They don't have anything to see from that from cable.
No, absolutely not. The only thing they have on cable to try and sell ads is, well, this is how many people are watching our show.
Yeah.
And this is who we think is watching our show.
Yeah.
They would have a lot more control over that. And by way of that, I'm pretty sure they would be able to sell better ads, more ads, get more money for it than they would even going through the traditional cable model.
Yeah. And the way that the ads work, I'm not 100% sure, like I don't keep up with that stuff, but the ads they're made by like the people that are doing the ads pay them for the amount of time that the ad is on there.
Yeah,
or something like that. So whether somebody skips it or not, it really doesn't matter.
As far as their monetary, no, it doesn't matter. All they care about is that somebody wants to advertise on their platform.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. Like, why haven't they done that, and why won't they do that? I think it's just greed.
It really is. It's because they think they can make more money by making it as actually subscription.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is, I can't say they're entirely wrong. Because there's a lot of people out there that would just rather throw money at something than, just either do without or, deal with it other ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's such a consumerist kind of ideal. But, I mean, that's kind of where we are in this country in a lot of cases. It's just, oh, well, I want this. I have to pay for it. Okay, whatever. I'll pay for it. But I'm not going to go without this because I want it.
Oh, yeah. But like these streaming services, do they have a free model?
Well, some of
like
them.
Is Disney going to pick up a free model?
I don't know about those, but I know some of the existing ones do to an extent.
Yeah.
Like with like the Hulu, like ad supported content.
Is there? See, at one point wasn't there limitations on how much you could view free?
I believe so. Yes. I know Crunchyroll definitely does that as well. Although they don't have a limitation. But they do have like it's ads, and they also delay new episodes by like a week.
Oh, okay.
So
if you pay the subscription, you get the episodes the week of.
Right. You get the episodes like the same day that they premiere in Japan, and there are no ads if you subscribe.
Okay.
But you can still watch any of that, once it's available.
Yeah.
With ads for free.
Okay. Yeah, because I know Hulu they got the free with tons of ads at.
Mm-hmm.
From what I remember, it's been a long time since I used Hulu for free. Like that was like 2010, maybe. That's a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have the pay model that has ads as well.
Right. It's like a lesser one.
Lesser ads, I guess. And then you have the one I do because I hate ads.
Mm-hmm.
So I pay the extra money to not get ads.
And even having a model like that where it's optional, like you can watch for free or you can pay a subscription to not have ads, I think is still very workable because it gives people that option and that choice.
Yeah. When I was looking to get into Star Trek, like you had to have the membership to watch Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
They had other shows on there that they were some originals.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's original. I guess they were calling it originals, even though they've been a network forever and they've been putting out shows forever. I guess they're just taking on that originals thing like Netflix did and everybody. But yeah, I couldn't watch Star Trek. I was like, fuck it.
Now, for that matter, I'm kind of split on like what DC's doing. Because are you aware of I think it's called DC Universe?
The TV shows on the CW, or
well, it's basically a place where they're doing like their own streaming service, but it's not just streaming. Like it's basically a place for like all of the various DC media.
So you can get comic books, movies, TV shows, like all that kind of stuff. I might actually get that.
Right. And they also have, I think it's Doom Patrol is exclusive to that currently.
Really?
Like they have a Doom Patrol show.
Huh.
But yeah, that's what they're doing right now. And I'm interested to see how that develops, because if it was just streaming, like I would be a little more wary of it. But it's apparently like, also including comics as well.
If I could go back and view every comic like in the entire DC universe from the beginning to now, like I'd enjoy that. Like I'd go back and read the first Batmans and everything like that. Where right now it's just, you can pirate it. That's the only way I know how to get it for free.
I was gonna say you could always buy the original comics for like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah, or pick through bargain bins and get stuff. I mean, I found some gems when I was growing up through some bargain bins.
I know Marvel was already doing a system where they offered like the entire catalog of their comics for like a yearly subscription.
Yeah.
But I think that in and of itself isn't enough.
Yeah, just comics, just TV shows, movies like that. It's not worth it to me for that. Mm-hmm. Like I've not gotten on any of those just because it's just one thing.
Right.
Like give me something that has like all the live action movies, all the animated movies, all the animated shows, and the comics.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Because
I will pay for that.
Especially in DC, there are some really, really good ones. Like you look at like the old Batman, the animated series from the 90s.
Oh yeah.
Like such a great series.
Oh, it really is. Joker from that is like my favorite Joker.
Mark Hamill Joker.
Yeah, Mark Hamill. Oh man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like it is definitely one of those things where I think animation wise, like DC probably has a little bit of an edge over Marvel.
Yeah.
But there have been some good Marvel animated shows as well. Like you look at like the 90s X-Men was really good.
Yeah. It's another 90s nostalgia thing. Like
oh yeah.
X-Men just hasn't been the same to me since the 90s. Like that was really big, and then the whole Phoenix saga with the cartoon and everything. Like I don't know, the movies just never did it for me like that did. I was up every Saturday morning, had to watch the new episode of X-Men.
I think what it comes down to is a few things. For one, you had kind of the lull in the comics industry, which prompted Marvel to start selling rights for things in order to stay afloat, basically.
Yeah.
That's how, Fox ended up with the rights to the X-Men and the Fantastic Four in the first place.
Yeah.
How Sony ended up with the rights to Spider-Man. Because they were basically just selling off their popular products for, the movie and TV rights, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as you can expect, a movie studio isn't necessarily going to know how to treat a comic book movie.
Yeah.
And while there were some good parts of the early X-Men movies, and there were some great parts of the early Spider-Man movies, I mean, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies actually were fantastic.
Yeah.
But, Sam Raimi, I think, respects the actual source material.
Mm-hmm.
But I think on the whole, especially when you got to like the third X-Men movie, it just started feeling like,
the third X-Men movie was weird.
It started feeling like, okay, well, we're not really going to respect the comics anymore. We're just going to kind of do our own thing with these characters, and we're just going to call it good enough. Like, I also wasn't really a big fan of the way that they wanted to try and I guess bring everything into like modern current day to a sense, like where they didn't want to use like the bright colored outfits or things like that that are so ingrained to their identity as part of the comics because, oh, well, we think it would just look silly in real life. Yeah. And especially as we've seen now, looking back on it, they're not going to look silly. You just need to do them right.
Yeah. Yeah. Because everybody looked the same. Like there was nothing. It didn't scream like the powers. Yeah. Superheroes, but it didn't have like they didn't have their each own identities.
I mean, it's like you could use those like cartoony, like bright colored outfits and it looked normal as long as you do it intelligently. And Marvel has shown us that like through their MCU, the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
Like most of these costumes, while not picture perfect to what they were in the comics, are still very easily recognized as, hey, this is basically them from the comic.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of just, oh, well, they're all in black leather.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because everybody's in black leather.
Yeah. Man.
Well, maybe put just a hair of yellow in it.
Oh, my goodness. Oh. And see, I wanted them to do more with Rogue, too.
Oh yeah,
Rogue was one of my favorite characters in the comic and the animated series. Like Rogue and Gambit. Like those were my two favorite characters growing up.
So I guess weird way potential spoilers, but not for anything that's actually out. Another reason why I'm really excited like I really like the Captain Marvel movie, is just because they're introducing Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, it allows the possibility that when they do introduce the X-Men into the MCU, they can actually do that rogue storyline.
Really?
Well, I don't know how much you know about it, but like in the 90s cartoon, for example, the reason that she could fly and had super strength was because she drained Carol Danvers.
Yeah.
And in the comic storyline, she basically drained her to such a point that she ended up permanently gaining her powers, or at least a portion of her powers. Mm. And I think it actually got to a point where she had Carol Danvers' personality in her as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
But yeah, so it gets me kind of excited that, you know, they could really do that. Like, that's something that is very possible. And since they're going to be rebooting the X-Men anyway.
And they own Fox now. Well, right. At least the entertainment part of it.
Right. I mean, they have the rights to to X-Men back again. So undoubtedly they're going to be rebooting them sometime. I mean, probably not this upcoming phase, but maybe the phase after.
Yeah. And it sucks though, because X-Men take a big part in all these overarching stories that I wish they could have been in it from the beginning.
It's very true, but I mean, there's also a lot of X-Men events, like X-Men specific events that were huge in comics.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at like House of M.
Yeah.
Like they could absolutely do House of M without necessarily having to get into anything else.
Onslaught.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. that would be cool to see in Marvel Cinematic Universe is Onslaught.
It really would be. Like there's definitely a lot to get excited for from like X-Men comics that Fox just never really paid any attention to.
Fox never could do comic book movies right. I don't think. They've made a lot of mistakes on a lot of things in the past.
Oh, they have. And they have absolutely trashed Fantastic Four. Yeah. Considering that Fantastic Four is, well, for one, it's like a writer's wet dream to be able to write a story for that kind of setup, because there's so much in there, like so many eccentricities. You have a group of four heroes that are given powers that kind of contradict them in a way.
Yeah.
Except for Johnny Storm.
Yeah.
Johnny Storm kind of embodies his power. But I mean, you look at like Reed Richards, who's basically like, you know, this really rigid, like, you know, traditional 1960s like father type, like very straight and narrow type. And his power is to be the most flexible man in the world.
Yeah.
Like you have like Sue Storm, who's like generally regarded as this like really pretty woman and probably some amount of vanity and everything, whose power is to not be seen.
Yeah.
Like you've got, you know, this guy, Ben Grimm, who granted is kind of gruff, but he really is like a real heart of gold type character. Like he really genuinely cares about other people and is a real softie, and he becomes a rock monster.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, how do you not write a good story with all of this?
Yeah, for real.
And on top of that, like you have what is arguably the best villain in comics, and
Dr. Doom. Yeah. Oh man.
Like the reason he is such a good villain is because he's nuanced. Like it's much like what Marvel did with Thanos in Avengers Infinity War. Like it's not just, oh well, I'm evil because I'm evil and stomping around and doing evil things.
Yeah.
Like everything he does, there's believable motivation. Like he's not just a bad person. Like he's a person that's determined to do the right thing, but he doesn't have any qualms about how he achieves it.
Yeah. He wants to save people, but he will sacrifice people to save people.
Absolutely. And you know, it's having a villain that's multifaceted like that. It's one of the reasons I think that the MCU has been doing as well as it has been. Because it's not even just Thanos. Like you look at Killmonger and the Black Panther.
Yeah.
Like it was much the same way. I mean, you know, he wasn't going about things the right way, but it's not like he was wrong.
No. He's somebody that you're just like, wow, like you understand why he's making the decisions he is, but he definitely needs to see the whole picture.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think that's definitely one of the big strengths, and something that I think that they'll finally be able to do justice to the Doctor Doom character, when they finally get around to getting the Fantastic Four involved in the MCU. And for that matter, I kind of expect that they were already planning a little bit on this. A lot of speculation is that the next phase of the Marvel movies is going to largely focus on the space opera within Marvel.
Okay.
Basically just the more like interstellar, like galactic kind of level stuff, because you have so many things within Marvel Comics. You have like obviously the Kree and the Skrulls, like you have like the Spartax Empire, like you have like, as they've already kind of introduced in the comics somewhat, which I guess technically still belongs to Sony, but Sony would be dumb not to continue working with Marvel.
Yeah.
Like the as they're called, the Clintar, which is the race of symbiotes that Venom and Carnage are.
Yeah. Oh man.
I mean, obviously, like you have Groot. Like there's actually a race from Groot, although he's generally regarded as like the last one. But it's like you have like the Nova Corps that's out there in space. Like, I mean, it's just there's so much to it and so many little bits and pieces and moving parts out there. I mean, it really is almost like a whole nother comic universe.
Yeah. Maybe they can do Galactus and
they could.
And the Heralds, right? Like,
yeah. And it's that's the thing, is there's so much of Fantastic Four that builds into that cosmic lore.
Yeah.
And not even just like the space opera, but the actual cosmic lore when you start getting into like the entities embodying like space and time.
Mm-hmm.
And, that even is actually pretty well fleshed out in Marvel.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's definitely a lot of things that could be coming. Some really big things, based on them actually having the rights to the Fantastic Four and the X-Men back.
Yeah. I actually really enjoyed the Fantastic Four comics. Mm-hmm. Like they were some of my favorite comics. There's just so much going on with each character's story, like you were talking about, mm-hmm. like how their powers contradict each other, and then you got Johnny Storm. He's just
he's just a hot-headed kid.
Yeah, he likes jumping motorcycles and doing stunts and stuff like that. And now he's on fire and he can fly. Oh, that's perfect for him.
Yeah. And when it all comes down to it, I think if any one hero in Marvel would do well to be separated from the rest of the MCU, I think it would be Spider-Man in any case.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, a lot of Spider-Man's major events in comics have been largely secluded to himself.
Yeah.
Like he actually has one of the top rogues galleries in all of comics. Like, I wouldn't say it's the best. I think Batman pretty firmly has that.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's definitely right up there. So, I mean, he has, like, the material villain-wise to be able to sustain, like, a whole series of whatever by himself. Like, you have so many different iterations of Spider-Man that have popped up here, there, and everywhere. Like I said, the events for Spider-Man usually are Spider-Man events. Like there's not usually a whole lot of crossover with them.
Yeah, I haven't kept up with Spider-Man in recent times, but like all those big stories, like you had the clones and then like that's what I grew up on, was the clones in the Maximum Carnage story arc and everything.
And if they really wanted, because they did put out the animated movie Into the Spider-Verse. I mean, that is, a whole thing, like, within the comics.
Oh, and it did so good.
And it really did. And so, like, I could easily see them, like, expanding out into this whole, like, Spider-Verse of characters. I mean, there are a lot of really interesting ones that they could flesh out and really, really get into.
Yeah. Yeah, how much of this after Infinity War, if Peter Parker's still alive, like, how much is he going to want to be going out into doing all this stuff outside of New York City?
Well, that's the thing. Like, Spider-Man has largely always been a local hero.
Yeah.
And there are definitely times where he'll branch out and do other stuff here and there. But in the comics, he's largely always been like, okay, this is the city that I'm in. This is the city I'm protecting.
Yeah.
Like, which mostly has been New York. But it's like, that's just kind of how he is. He's a local level superhero. He's a really strong local level superhero, but I mean, he still usually operates on the streets, basically.
Yeah. Now would definitely be a good time to pull up some of those, some throwbacks to like the clones with the Scarlet Spider.
Oh yeah,
and everything, and Maximum Carnage. Now I haven't watched the new Venom movie. It's not new anymore, but I haven't watched it yet, and I know Carnage is coming. But does it tie into? Is it going to be tying into anything?
I don't
Spider-Man?
know for certain, and I think right now they're kind of being cautious about it because they don't know how they want to move forward with Spider-Man and with Marvel in general.
Because who did the Venom movie?
You mean as like studio?
Yeah,
that was all Sony.
Oh, it was all Sony. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was Sony. Just independently did that one, which I thought was actually pretty good.
Okay.
Again, like there was some negativity surrounding it. I thought it actually turned out really well. Like I would put it maybe somewhat alongside like the like 90s Spawn movie.
Okay. I like the 90s Spawn movie.
Yeah.
I was a huge fan of Spawn.
Yeah. And it had sort of a similar feel to that, which it should because they were designed by the same author.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I mean, they're basically like brothers almost.
Yeah. Oh man. And hell, the Spawn artist is one of my favorite DC artists now, Greg Capullo. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but
yeah.
Like he's one of my favorite artists. Like he just brings the comic to life to me, and it's not misproportioned or anything like that. It's actually really good artwork.
Yeah, and that's something that I'm really glad for is that in this day and age, there's not a whole lot in the way of bad comic art nowadays.
Yeah, for real. We had a bad run of that in the 90s.
The 90s were
even before that too. 90s were bad, especially Cable.
Oh yeah,
the X-Force.
Rob Liefeld.
Yeah. That's a lot of information to unpack right there. Just look it up.
Yeah, just look up why Rob Liefeld is the worst artist ever.
Yeah. Dude made a lot of money.
A ridiculous amount of money. And he gets a lot of credit for things that weren't really, him. Like he gets credit for creating Deadpool, which is technically true. But the thing that neglects is the fact that the Deadpool that we know isn't really the Deadpool he created.
Yeah.
Like the Deadpool he created was just a straight ripoff of Deathstroke from DC.
Yeah.
Just straight up ripoff, like pretty much one for one. Deathstroke is Slade Wilson. Okay, well, I'm going to call my guy Wade Wilson.
They didn't even try that hard.
No, he didn't even try.
I'm so glad that Deadpool is what he is now.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the whole like slapstick humor, like omniscience, voices in his head character didn't come until later.
Yeah. Oh man, those movies are so good.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to get a X-Force movie, like a true X-Force movie, because Deadpool 2 was kind of. It was kind of the introduction to that, yeah.
But yeah.
Oh man, it'd be so cool.
But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to whatever they do. I'm hoping at the very least, whatever happens, they keep Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, and they kind of continue allowing him to have a lot of creative input to it.
Mm-hmm. I can't see it staying good if they take him out.
Well, I mean, he's just so perfect for the role. I mean, he really understands the character.
Yeah.
And the thing is, even if they don't want to make the first two Deadpool movies canon to the MCU, they can still make them canon without actually making them canon, which I know sounds confusing, but
by just keeping him as the same character.
Right, because the entire idea behind Deadpool as he exists now is that he is aware that he's in a comic or a movie or whatever else that it is that he's in. Like, he's aware of things that are going on in the real world. Like, that's just part of the character.
Yeah, he even references to the fucking shitty Deadpool that they made for
the Wolverine Origins movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so it would make perfect sense still for him to not only still be Ryan Reynolds, but to even reference or utilize those movies, even if they're not canon within the MCU.
Yeah. Because he can go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, he could probably pop up in DC. I don't know if he has or not. Some kind of crossover.
I don't think. Yeah, there have been a couple of crossovers for DC Marvel.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's ever been part of one.
Yeah, the biggest one, the only one that I was like, I had the comics for it. I had all the stories for each fight was the Marvel versus DC or DC versus Marvel, depending on which comics you were reading.
Right.
And the worlds or the universes like colliding with each other.
Is that the one where they made the amalgam universe?
Yeah. You
had characters like Dark Claw, which was like Wolverine combined with Batman.
Yeah. Lobo the Duck.
Yeah.
With Lobo and Howard the Duck.
Yeah. That was fun.
Yeah. Who was it that picked up Thor's hammer? I think it was Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Wonder Woman picked up Thor's hammer. Superman destroyed the Hulk. Like, Superman gave no fucks about Hulk getting stronger or anything and dropped a mountain on him. And Hulk stopped.
It's one of those weird things, though, because a lot of these characters, it depends so much on who's writing them.
Yeah, it does.
Like, so many of these characters, like, their powers are kind of ill-defined, at least concerning maximums.
Yeah.
Like, Superman's pretty much always been that way. Hulk is pretty ill-defined at his maximum.
Yeah.
Just because, like, his maximum is defined as, well, I don't know, how angry can he get?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the stronger the opponent, the stronger he gets, but it's not based on the power of it. Of the person, he doesn't get stronger. It's just like the more he gets beat on, the stronger he gets because the more angry he gets. But he can be knocked out. He can't get angry if he's knocked out.
Right.
If you drop a mountain on him and knock him out, he can't get angry.
So yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like there are even versions of Superman that are basically written to be omnipotent.
Yeah. I hated the electric Superman. I hated that whole thing. But the good thing that came out of that whole death of Superman, I really liked Superboy, the one with the leather jacket and the fade.
Yeah.
And everything. Like, I really liked him. Like, his base of operations was in Hawaii in his comics, and he was a superhero for Hawaii.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And that's where his, like, all the stories took place, mostly. Except for the crossovers.
It's one of those things where, like, I mean, even with bad, like, there's usually some amount of good that comes out of it.
Yeah. I really like the Superman, which in the crossover with DC versus Marvel, it was Superboy versus Spider-Man, and of course Spider-Man's gonna win that because Superboy is kind of an idiot. he wasn't a very smart guy. Now with the reboot of New 52 and then beyond that, the Superboy that came from that.
Right.
He's actually really smart.
Yeah.
And his tactical telekinesis is way more advanced than tactile telekinesis is way more advanced than the 90s Superboy that was the clone of Superman. They're both clones.
Right.
But like Superboy had to like touch the ground to cause the ground to come up and stuff like that, where the Superboy now, by just him being in the air and touching the particles in the air, like he can control things that way. Like he can lobotomize somebody just because they're touching. Like he could punch and then boom, oh, they're brain dead.
Yeah. And it's like,
you just lost your superpowers because I redid your DNA.
And, for that matter, it also kind of brings up another topic. It's always been a little weird to me. Like, it's interesting sometimes, like, comparing characters and everything. But it's like, when you really get down to it, it almost always is just like, well, it depends on who's writing it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of
really
like the old like game, so to speak, of Calvin Ball, where you make up the rules as you go along.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's almost kind of like that. It's like, oh, well, he does this. Oh, well, he's not affected by that because he can do this. And then he does this back.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like all these YouTube channels that have versus, like you got Goku versus Superman and stuff like that. Like it's They try to take as many facts as they can about both sides, and then at their strongest, put them together,
right,
with their maximum amount of abilities.
And I guess the difference with what they're doing is they're not really adding anything into it per se.
There's
they're
no
just
story.
They're just taking purely what the source material is, taking like the best feats of strength or speed or anything like that they can find within that, and trying to put a real world number to it that they can then compare.
Yeah. Where in like story wise, Superman wouldn't kill Goku because Goku's not a bad guy.
No, I mean, yeah, like it doesn't make any sense.
Goku wouldn't attack Superman unless there was some misunderstanding there, but that would happen.
I don't know about that. Like,
Goku does want to fight the strongest person in the.
I feel like Goku would absolutely want to fight Superman, but not kill him.
Yeah, just so he could get stronger.
He would just want to fight him because he wants to fight the strongest people he can.
Yeah, that is true.
I mean, it's like that's one of the things about like Dragon Ball Z in general. It's just that Goku's not like some kind of hero. No. He's not like some kind of, he's such a good guy trying to save anybody. Like, really, his motivation is purely just to fight the strongest people he can. Yeah. And he has endangered the world several times over to try and do that. You can get stronger? Okay, well, go ahead, get stronger. I'll be waiting over here.
Hasn't he used wishes to bring like the world back to life after destroying it in a fight?
That has happened, like within DBZ.
Yeah.
Like in the Buu arc, like the Earth was destroyed and had to be restored.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's yeah, like Goku really doesn't care about anything other than a good fight. Which
is cool. I think it's a cool story. I enjoyed all the movies and and everything. I haven't watched DBZ Super.
Yeah, DB Super. DB Super is really good. It actually continues things pretty well, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I would say if you're a fan of Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super is very good.
And is it all on Crunchyroll?
It is all on Crunchyroll.
I have Joe's Crunchyroll account.
It is all on Crunchyroll, and I think it's Cartoon Network has been airing English dubs of it. I don't think they're quite all the way through yet, but they're like most of the way, I think, at this point.
Yeah. I saw just on my TV going through the apps, one of the new apps is a Funimation app. Mm-hmm. And they have all the Funimation stuff on there. And they have I was looking at it because I could watch like the first few episodes of Dragon Ball Super on there. And then they have all the old Dragon Ball Z, all the old Dragon Ball. And then they have all of the extra movies that were throughout all of the series. So some of the movies were my favorite growing up because we ended up having on eBay, we bought VHS tapes from China, and they were in Mandarin with English subtitles.
Yeah.
And like, I like those movies better than what they were showing on Cartoon Network at the time on Toonami after school. Before Toonami became a Saturday night thing, because they had all the cussing and all the crude jokes and all that kind of stuff, and I thought that was pretty awesome as a kid. I was like, why did they ruin it? Like, it's so much better this way.
Yeah. and you know, that's something else. Like, I think censorship gets a little out of hand at times, and I kind of get when you deal with different countries, like censorship works very differently. Mm-hmm. Like different countries are weird about different things. But at the same time, like I'm kind of a big proponent of representing things the way they were originally intended.
Yeah.
Like I even don't really like translating proper nouns if I can help it.
Yeah.
Like in a lot of cases, I'll try and use Japanese names if I know it, rather than use like an English translated name.
Huh. Okay.
And that's not always like the case, but I try.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know all the Japanese versions of the names.
I'm not saying I know all of them. And a lot of them actually get translated over. It's just maybe the pronunciation isn't quite the same. For example, like Sephiroth versus Sephiroth.
Oh. See, you've read a lot more manga and watched a lot more anime and keep up with that stuff, where I just I liked Dragon Ball Z growing up, and that's all I had access to, and I
Mhm.
never really got into anything else until actually just recent years, just from streaming services and everything. So, and I don't read a lot. If I do read, it's usually comics, and I usually choose like DC or Marvel stuff.
I would say I didn't really get into manga until it was a good handful of years ago. Like our friend Coslow had introduced me to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that probably would have been about 10 years ago, maybe.
really?
And that's when I really started getting into to manga to some extent. And I've always had some kind of passing interest in anime. A lot of like my real basis for it really came from, like you had said, like the early like Toonami and like when Adult Swim was doing some animes like Cowboy Bebop or Outlaw Star.
Yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho. I got really big into Yu Yu Hakusho, and I had only seen it the first season or so, like the first half of the first season on Toonami, like late at night, Adult Swim or something. I guess it was when they started the whole late night Toonami, because was it always just Saturday when they started doing it at night, or did they have more days?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Or maybe it was
I think
just Adult Swim.
Early on, I think it was just part of the normal programming. I don't think they had it separated out to a day.
Yeah. Yeah,
like early on.
Because I would watch reruns of Yu Yu Hakusho all the time.
When like their only real like original content on Adult Swim was like Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Yeah. Because before that, it was just like marathoning 3 hours of Tom and Jerry.
Yeah, pretty much. And then you started having that like at nights.
Yeah,
which was cool.
And they introduced, through Space Ghost Coast, or I guess around the same time that Space Ghost was on, you had
like the Brack Show.
The Brack Show. Before that, though, there was another Space Ghost show that was like a talk show kind of deal.
Aside from Coast to Coast?
Yes. And it had Brack as his character on the Brack Show in that.
Well, I mean, Space Ghost Coast to Coast did have Brack like as that kind of just dumb same character, basically.
Yeah,
like,
but he was really very a small part of it. Like, it was mainly Space Ghost and Zorak.
Yeah. And I guess it was like later seasons of Coast to Coast that started bringing Brack in more, I think.
There was that, but there was another show. Space Ghost Coast to Coast was definitely the bigger one, but there was another freaking show, and I can't find it. Was it Cartoon Planet? Yeah, it was Cartoon Planet. It was Space Ghost, Brack, and Zorak host a series of comedy skits.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Like, it was a very... Like, nobody remembers that show. Everybody remembers Space Ghost Coast to Coast, but like, nobody remembers Cartoon Planet. Like I had to look it up just now to even remember the name of it. But the Brack that, like, ultimately went on to, like, be the Brack Show was, like, really brought to life in Cartoon Planet. But that's how Cartoon Network started introducing, and I guess this was before Adult Swim. They started on these late night, they started introducing the new stuff like Dexter's Laboratory, Powerpuff Girls, and Johnny Bravo.
Like on the What a Cartoon Show?
Yeah. And they had they did the pilots, and then it was a competition. And like, people got to choose which one was the ones that they really would continue.
Popular, like, became their own shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, the one that won, I think, was Dexter's Laboratory.
Dexter's Lab was definitely one that started that way.
And then they picked up the other ones too, because everybody liked all of them.
Yeah, like Powerpuff Girls started that way. Like Johnny Bravo started that way. I know that there were a few others that started. Courage the Cowardly Dog started that way. And
those are some great cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
Like Johnny Bravo, like, just tripped me out. Like, it was funny.
Yeah, absolutely. Which apparently is something I found out about, like, somewhere along the way. Seth MacFarlane actually worked as a writer on Johnny Bravo.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Nice.
Which I suspect is how he actually got in touch with Adam West in the first place to have him in Family Guy. Because Adam West actually appeared in, like, an episode of Johnny Bravo.
Huh. Interesting. That's pretty cool. Adam West is awesome.
Yeah.
I grew up, I mean, it was reruns at the time, but I grew up every day watching just antenna TV and watching the old Adam West Batman. Like I love that show. It's so cheesy. It's like, it makes you laugh so much now, where it was like so serious.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So many good cartoons from that time, really. I mean, it wasn't even just Cartoon Network. It was like Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon both put out a bunch of stuff, like, 90s into like the early aughts.
Yeah. I actually really enjoyed the Fairly Odd Parents.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess I was older when that came out. Like, I was like 18, 19. Around that time I was watching it because I had little brothers and sisters.
But I mean, it was still really good.
Yeah. Yeah, they had so many inside jokes, like so many adult jokes that are in it too. And you notice it more now as an adult watching like old cartoons and everything. Like, they had so many adult jokes that you just did not get when you were a kid, but it was just funny.
Right. Or you really want to talk about a cartoon that had a bunch of adult jokes? Animaniacs.
Oh God, yeah. Animaniacs is awesome.
And it wasn't even just like quote unquote adult humor, but it was a lot of like references to celebrities that kids would have no idea who they were.
Yeah. It was definitely like, I didn't know who half the celebrities were that they were talking about.
Right.
Like, if they said Jack Nicholson, or if they did Jack Nicholson, like, I knew Jack Nicholson.
Right.
As a Joker on Batman, like, that was the main thing I knew him from when I was a kid.
But it's like there were so many things that it's like, because they were talking about like Hedy Lamarr or stuff like that.
Yeah, like some old stuff. Yeah.
Which for that matter, Hedy Lamarr is a really interesting person, and if you don't know much about her, you should really look her up.
Yeah, she's smart.
Very smart. Actually developed some of the technology that's used in wireless communication now.
Yep. Yeah, I remember there was a Today I Learned on Reddit about her, and I was like, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, some really, really cool stuff. I mean, it's just, anytime you can, you really should just go out, read up on some things, because there are a lot of things in this world that are just fascinating that you really would have no clue of if you don't like go and seek out the knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. Reddit helps you too.
Oh yeah.
People will do it and then they'll post it.
Yeah. Like they'll do all the legwork for you, so you already know where to look, where to read on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Today I Learned, like, subreddit is just always interesting stuff there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Some stuff is like, oh well, I knew that. I knew that.
But I mean, it's kind of like what was it? I think it was an XKCD comic that was, talking about like, oh, well, you didn't know this? It's like, oh, well, you get to be one of today's lucky 10,000. Because it's like a statistic that was shown that, like, for anything that's considered common knowledge, statistically, there's like 10,000 people that find out about it that day.
Huh. Okay. That's pretty cool.
So, yeah, it's like you get to be one of today's lucky 10,000.
Nice.
So, yeah, and definitely, don't look down on people because they may not have known something that you know.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's always gaps in people's knowledge. Like, they led a different life. You don't know, like, what they may or may not have seen or may or may not have been told. So, if anything, just be like, hey, cool, you get to learn about this now.
Yeah. Be excited to teach somebody that doesn't know about something like a TV show or a movie that came out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there was a period of time I had no access to cable. I had I didn't really have the money to go and see movies, or like renting movies kind of ended around the same time. So there wasn't, and streaming wasn't what it is today. And like, I missed an entire series on TV, and I've missed entire movies that I heard about it, but I didn't really know what it was about. And like, it sucks whenever somebody's like, oh, well, you never saw that? Well, you suck because you never saw that movie. I was like, okay. Like, I couldn't watch it at the time. Right. Like, I was doing other things.
Yeah. I mean, don't berate people. Like, if anything, rejoice in the fact that, they get to learn this thing. They get to experience it fresh and new. Like,
Yeah. I mean, if they are wanting to watch it, don't just push it on somebody.
Right. Obviously. But I mean, it's like, don't look at it as, oh, well, how could you never have watched this? Look at it as like, hey, you have this opportunity to watch this.
Yeah, that's like I miss Firefly. I didn't see it on TV, and I heard about it after like it became a cult classic and everything, and people were like, "Oh, you gotta watch Firefly! Like it's so good." There's only one season of it, but like it's so good. I actually saw the movie before I even knew about the TV show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I just. Somebody was like, "Oh, want to watch this movie?" And I was like, "I'll go with you. I got the time to go watch it." And I ended up watching the movie, and I was kind of lost for a good part of it. But it was still a good movie. I hated how they killed characters more so after watching the TV series. I hated the movie.
Yeah.
Because I ended up rewatching. And I was just like, God damn, like. No, but they did bring a comic book back for Firefly.
Yeah, they did.
I don't know if it's still going or not, but
I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it actually. Oh, but I'll tell you one thing that not even too terribly long ago, like a handful of months ago, something that I was not aware of that when I found out about it, just like it's just absolutely fascinating me. It absolutely floored me, and it's like one of those rare cases of just that pure joy of just learning something that you had no idea about. If you have not heard of it or seen it, look up stuff on Prince Rupert's Drop.
What's that?
Prince Rupert's Drop is this phenomenon where if you make a bead of glass, like basically you just have like a glob of glass that's like melted, like drips, and you have the nice long tail from where it's stretched out. You cannot break it by applying pressure to the drop portion of it. Because of the way that the structure of it works. Now, what you can do is you can snap the tail.
Yeah.
But when you snap the tail, the entire thing will shatter.
Interesting.
Like it is absolutely fascinating.
But but putting pressure on the drop, just not
at the very least, it would take an insane amount of pressure to break it that way.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Like, and it all has to do with like the structure of the molecules, like how all of it like fits together when it hardens. But it's something I'd never heard of before. And it's like when somebody showed it to me, it was just like, this is a thing? Like, how did I not know about this?
It's magic.
But yeah, absolutely. Look some stuff up on it. Prince Rupert's Drop.
Yeah, I never heard of that. I'll check it out. I'm sure there's YouTube videos out there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So something, I don't know, I guess I've kind of been obsessive about it. I've been listening to Childish Gambino a lot.
Yeah,
like a lot, which I already liked Donald Glover. I liked him on Community. That was the first place I ever knew about him was Community.
Same for me.
And I had listened to Childish Gambino songs like over the years, and I really liked his music, but I never actually sat down and listened to his albums. And I've been doing that all week while I've been playing Final Fantasy.
Right.
Just play them. Just play the first album, second album, third album, and then start over again. I'm really enjoying it. Now something I have missed out on is stuff that he's acted in recently. And I'm amazed at how like his dynamic is with music and acting. Because nobody refers to him as Childish Gambino as an actor. He's known as Donald Glover as an actor. With music, nobody refers to him as Donald Glover. He is Childish Gambino. There is no crossover there. Like nobody.
Yeah, if you say Childish Gambino, you know that they're talking about him as a music artist.
Yeah.
If you say Donald Glover, you know that they're talking about him in regards as an actor.
Yeah, I just think that's a really cool dynamic that not a lot of people have that, where they have two different
yeah, I mean, even
personas.
If you look at people who did have successful music and acting careers, like say Will Smith.
Yeah, he's Will Smith.
He was still known as Will Smith in both cases.
Yeah, well, I guess he's Fresh Prince, but that kind of went away because he tied that in with acting.
Well, it went away pretty quickly, but even then, like, he was still known as Will Smith.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you don't ever go, it's like, oh yeah, he's Childish Gambino, Donald Glover.
Yeah, nobody says that. Like, I've never seen that anywhere. It's either Childish Gambino or Donald Glover.
Right. And it's like, I feel like it was a lot more common to see, like, Fresh Prince Will Smith.
Yeah, yeah. And then just Will Smith. Like, it's just
with
Will
DJ
Smith.
Jazzy Jeff.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, that trailer.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody did a modern day.
The modernization of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah, that was really cool. I don't remember the dude's name. I before we go, I do want to
mention that really quick.
Yeah. Oh, man. It was so cool. Like, you got to watch it. Okay, so it's Morgan Cooper, and it's a fan-made video for a modern-day Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and, like, it takes, like, the comedy out of it, it looks like. Like, there's still a little bit of comedy there, but it's more dramatized.
There, but, yeah, it's definitely what would be a drama series.
Yeah, I would watch it. Whether it was a movie or a TV show, I would totally watch it, and it would be awesome if Will Smith is like, "Look, I love this. I want you to do it. I'll produce it or something like that." Would be,
because man, it looks so compelling. Like, it's definitely something I would watch.
Yeah, definitely look up Morgan Cooper, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Like, you will not be disappointed. If you're a fan of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I don't think you would be disappointed.
Right. I mean, it's pretty legit. Like, it really looks like this could be an advertisement for an upcoming show.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Like, dude's got some talent. I subscribe to him, and I hope to see more work, whether it is this or something else. I think he could do great things.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that will be it for this week's episode. Hope you enjoyed everything. We did stay away from politics this week. We kind of went heavy last week, and while there was things we wanted to talk about and get into, we felt like we don't need to completely saturate this channel with just politics and especially like religion. We don't want to touch on that a whole lot. It's just because it is a very touchy subject a lot of times, but we don't mind bringing it up. But definitely didn't want to just talk about politics. That was the main thing. And we wanted to focus on things that we wanted to talk about last week and get them out today. Mm-hmm. So hope you enjoyed it. And we hope to see you. I don't know why I said see you. I hope you join us next week.
We hope to see your views.
Yeah, yeah, we have to see your views, yeah. I hope to see you next week when we have something more to podcast. See you. I said see you again. What the hell's wrong with me? We hope you join us next week when we have something more to podcast. I think I got it right that time.
Yeah, I think so.